With basic services lagging behind, would the newly appointed Minister of Parliamentary Affairs deliver on her promises to work on the development and service delivery for the regular citizens of South Sudan? Join us as we discuss this and more only on Beyond the Headlines. Our guest on the program is Honorable Mary Mawai Martin, the Minister of Parliamentary Affairs. The Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs was established in June 2006, and it was previously headed by Gabriel Chang Song Chang, Dr. Martin Elia Lomoro, Mako Makwe Lueth, Bashir Bandi, and Gemma Nunu Kumba. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines.
Okay, thank you very much for having me, and I would like also to thank the viewers.
No problem. Yes, Honorable Minister, as the newly appointed Minister of Parliamentary Affairs, what have been your noted achievements since your appointment in August of this year, and what are your responsibilities within the ministry?
Yeah, it is true that I was appointed in August this year, and then I resumed the office. Actually, my appointment was on 28th of July, and then I resumed the office on 23rd of August, 2021. Okay, so far, actually, let me start by the ministry. The Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs, it is one of the ministry among the 35 ministries, and it has got the mandates. So the first mandate that I would like to talk about is the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs. It acts like a bridge between the executive and the parliamentarian. And then the mandates are many, so let me just address the key ones. And then me as a Minister of Parliamentary Affairs also act as a leader of government business. I coordinate the activities of the parliamentary affairs, the parliament and the executive. And I also empower the parliamentarians on capacity building so that they can be able to discharge their duties and their constitutional mandate. Those are some of the mandates of the ministry. And then coming to the achievements so far, actually when I was appointed, the first thing that I did, I really had a meeting with the undersecretary and the directors in the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs, just to know the achievements and the challenges in the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs. And then based on the information that I got during that meeting, actually I came out with some plans, like conducting the meetings with the partners that can support some of the programs that I have in the ministry. That's one. And then I also created a conducive environment, working environment for the partners so that we can work together with them. And also the other thing is I also conducted workshop for female parliamentarians, which draw women from two houses, Council of State and the National Executive Assembly. It was a consultative meeting, and also there were some MPs came from the states. So it's one of their achievements. And then the other one is we brought 10 ministers from the states. From the state, they are ministers of parliamentary affairs at the state level, and they are directors. We brought them to Juba for 3 days workshop, just to strengthening their capacity and also to, to create awareness about the mandates of the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs and the Legal Affairs at the state level. They were together with their director generals. And then also, led a group of MPs from two houses, Council of the State and National Executive Assembly, to Kenya and to Rwanda. Those are the achievements so far that I've achieved within the 3 months in the office. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Now, how do you plan on engaging the two August houses, the Council of State and the National Legislative Assembly, to ensure they fulfill their constitutional mandate?
Yeah, the plans is about building their capacity. You know, if their capacity is built, like bringing members from Council of State and the National Legislative Assembly to train them, to give them induction training on parliamentary procedures, to give them skills that can enable them to discharge their duties or their constitutional mandate. So, and also know their roles of oversight, and also be able to know how to summon the ministers so that ministers can come to the parliament and answer questions pertaining their ministries. And then again, I'm also planning to engage the two houses so that they can know something about basic human rights, because basic human rights is very important for our people, the rights to life, the life to education, to health. So those are some of the plans that I have for the two houses that can bring them together and can strengthening their capacity so that they can discharge their duties. And also the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs, it's also, you know, one of the ministry that is able to really to empower the parliamentarian, not women alone, but male and female at the same time. And also, I want to make sure that women and the men, they perform their duties as MPs, as a representative of the people.
You know, as the Minister of Parliamentary Affairs, how do you plan on supporting the implementation of the revitalized peace agreement for sustainable peace and stability in the country?
Yeah, the Minister of Parliamentary Affairs, okay, the mandate for all the ministries or the TNL, not TNL, the TIGONO, the first thing is we are mandated to implement the peace agreement. And it is the obligation for us as executive to support the implementation of the peace agreement. I do agree with you that I'm also supporting the implementation of peace agreement. And then the other thing is I really need to train the MPs so that they can own the peace themselves, because peace agreement was signed by different parties. For MPs to own the peace, they need to be educated so that when they own the peace, they will be able to harmonize their work as MPs, regardless of their political parties. And then they can be able to go to their respective constituencies and also, you know, sensitize people and also create more awarenesses among their people about the peace implementation. So it is very important for the MPs to own peace and also go to their constituencies to implement peace. And then there's another effort also whereby we can create workshops at different level, at the state level, at county level, and even to the grassroots level, whereby people can come together and we educate them about the implementation of peace. We educate them about to discourage the spirit of conflict or communal conflict among the people, and then we promote the spirit of coexistence among the people. That's how we can really implement the peace. We as MPs and the executive, we need to own the peace first, and then when we harmonize we have harmony among ourselves as people representative, we can be able to take the information to the grassroots. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You know, there's a concern among the citizens that the MPs are primarily in that position as a seat warmers. They're not doing anything effective, given that they were under the leadership of people like Dr. Martin Elia Lomoro, Honorable Minister Germanunu Kumba. The parliament has not done anything effective in terms of improving the lives of the citizens. So what is your role really in changing the face of the parliamentarians? Because a lot of citizens, when they read how much money the parliamentarians are getting while the citizens are living under a dire situation, they're quite angry about it.
Yeah, thank you very much. in the first place, the parliamentarian, the money that they are getting, it's really less because it is 9,000 SSP. It is less than $50. And the parliament in South Sudan, it is the least paying parliament around the world. 1, 2, for the parliamentarian to be effective, actually it is the collective responsibility for the executive and the parliamentarian, because our people have suffered a lot because of conflict, because of communal conflict among the people. So let us, as leaders of the country, commit ourselves for the implementation of peace, commit ourselves for the basic service delivery to the people. So for the parliamentarian, their roles are to act laws, to allocate resources, and also representing the will of the people. So it is the executive who are supposed to provide services to the people, but not the parliamentarian, because parliamentarian are just passing the laws. So for us, or for me as a Minister of Parliamentary Affairs, to make the parliament effectively, as I said before, it really needs capacity building so that they can be equipped with the knowledge and the skills, and then they can be able to discharge their roles. Because if parliamentarians are summoning the executives to the parliament to ask them to answer questions in regards of their ministries, then ministers also will be able to deliver the services to the people that are needed.
Honorable Minister, there have been concerns raised about that there are some MPs who are practically illiterate. They cannot read that well, nor can they write that well. So how do you expect them to be able to understand, for instance, their constitutional mandate or the revitalized peace agreement and be able to carry out their mandate?
Actually, I don't have any data of who is literate and who is not. So I don't have the data, but it is true that some members are there who cannot write and who cannot read, but they can speak Arabic and their language. So for a parliamentarian who is not illiterate to understand, but there's a common sense whereby, you know, there's no basic services in my area, but he or she can speak about it. So there is no problem about that one, because you can also explain to them the peace agreement and they can understand. So because when we started the struggle, there was no question that are you literate or illiterate to join the struggle. So they deserve to be parliamentarian, they deserve to represent their people because of the contribution that they rendered to the community. That's why their community elected them or appointed them to come and represent them in the parliament. So they will be there and they will be also ready to represent their people and to speak on behalf of their people, regardless of illiteracy and thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, what efforts are underway to engage the UN agencies and non-governmental bodies in order to realize the strong partnerships in the development of South Sudan?
Actually, what we need as South Sudanese, as I said before, that it needs a collective responsibility and commitment. We need to put security in place and stability in the country. When there is security, when there is stability in the country, we will be, we will build that strong working relationship with the UN and other non-governmental organizations. Because when there is security, development will prevail. When there is a security in place, investors will come to the country. And when there is security, we'll be able as a people's representative to go to our constituencies freely, to talk to our people, to mobilize our people, to mobilize our resources. So what we need is security in place and the respect of rule of law in our country. When we are respecting rule of law in our country, we'll be able to build our working relationship with the UN and the other NGOs.
Recently, alongside other female parliamentarians, you made an exchange learning visit to Kenya and Rwanda. What was the purpose of the visit?
Yeah, thank you very much. The purpose of the visit, this parliamentarian, they came from two houses, and most of them were newly appointed MPs. So we took them to Rwanda and to Kenya so that they can learn from their counterparts how to deliberate in the House, how to foster the laws that really affect the basic service delivery to the people. And also, what are the challenges that the female parliamentarians are facing? And then the other reasons of our visit, or other objectives of our visitors, like in Rwanda, Rwanda went through a lot of challenges like South Sudan. So, and it has developed so fast. We went there so that we can also learn from the female parliamentarian what they did to secure the 61% women's representation at all levels, and also what they did to reconcile with each other after the genocide, so that we can also come to South Sudan and do the same, so that we can reconcile with our people, we can reconcile among ourselves, so that we can have peace and we can also develop South Sudan. Those are the reasons why we went to these two countries.
Now, given that the exchange took place, learning visit to Kenya and Rwanda, how do you plan on translating that into actionable outcomes within the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs?
Really, this is the time that we really need to make some changes in our country, because as leaders, we need to say enough is enough for suffering. Enough is enough for war. So we need to commit ourselves. What we have learned somewhere, or in Rwanda or in Kenya, we are now preparing the reports to present to the House. When we present and it is adopted, it will be a law. And then we will also make sure that some of the good things that we learned from Rwanda or Kenya, we need to insert it in our constitution that we are expecting to come to the parliament. And then when it is law in the constitution, we will also enforce the implementation, so that the good things that we have learned, we need to implement it. Two, this time really we need, as leaders of this country, we need to develop our country. So it is a commitment for us. So when we are committed to implement what we have learned somewhere, we will be able to put them into practices in our country for action.
There are citizens who are concerned that, as I mentioned previously, that there are MPs who are there just as seat warmers, but they're not there to serve the country or the citizens. So who is mandated to supervise that the MPs conduct their job in such an effective manner and fulfill their obligations to the citizens and the country? Are you responsible for supervising the performance of the MPs, as well as those in the August houses, for instance, in the Council of State?
My role is to empower them, capacity building programs for them. And then who provides them in the both houses, Council of State and TNLA, we have chief whip. We have chief whip for political parties. These are their roles. They are the one who provides the performance of the MPs, who is in the August house, the 2 August house. It's not my responsibility. My responsibility is to empower them, to give them knowledge and skills so that they can be able to discharge their duties. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister Mary Mawai Martin, who is the Minister of Parliamentary Affairs. Thank you very much for joining me on the program.
Thank you very much also for having me.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page at Sunrise Media.